Okay. In honor of Second Chance Month and Women's History Month, we're proud to welcome LaQuintae as our guest speaker for Mindfulness Resolution Project. It's funded by the College of Arts and Sciences and the Dean's Innovation Grant. The Mindfulness Resolution Project is about bringing awareness to the present moment and making positive resolutions to create compassionate change and uplift. LaQuintae embodies this mission as a writer, advocate, and founder of LQ Operations and AOCC. She works to strengthen family connections and create pathways for healing and resilience. Having grown up with an incarcerated parent, LaQuintae saw firsthand the transformative power of education within the carceral system, as her mother has earned multiple degrees while incarcerated and created programs to uplift others. LaQuintae works tirelessly to address the root causes of incarceration, developing programs and curricula that prioritize rehabilitation over punishment. Her important work thrives on the rare and powerful intersection of bipartisan support, aligning with successful national efforts like the Second Chance Act and the First Step Act. Please join me in warmly welcoming LaQuintae.
Hi, thanks you guys for so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for that great introduction. And I guess we're gonna get started because time is limited and I have so much to share. I do want to start by saying the students did get a piece of writing that I have wrote, and that's where most of their questions come from. And I have a cat, so she's already on top of the desk. So please mind me if I have to like shove her or tell her to move because she's going to be pushing my computer screen as well. With that being said, I will be sharing another piece today of something that I wrote, which is a little bit more about my component to my business, AOCC, and how it came about. Because, like the professor stated, I do have a business and there's three components to it. So I want to share a story about how that started to go along with the students I've already read. And then I have published a book, which is my mom's poem book, under the component AOCC. And I would like to read the foreword that I wrote about in the book. And then after that, I will answer all of the lovely questions that I received prior to today from the students and the professor. So to start, I'm going to read. I want to start off explaining that LQ Operations is made up of three components: LQ Operations, AOCC, author/artist of created content, and the Free Tammy Her Life movement. Today, I will focus on AOCC, sharing what it is, how it started, and its vision and goals moving forward. And for those who don't know, my mom is incarcerated. That is like the big highlight of my story in my life, for those who are here who might not know. So I call this Another Beginning, Part 2. Before I looked at myself as a gold mine with potential, I was two steps from being a statistic. A statistic specifically the New York tri-state expected me to be. A felon, simply because my mother was in prison during life. My close call was when I wound up in the Supreme Court in New Jersey post my return home to New York City in 2019. Living in New Jersey at the time, I remember being arrested, knowing I was in trouble, and I didn't know too much of the details as to how and why I was in this space. The important part was I was not strapped with any weapon of any kind, not even my signature, and handheld, heavy weighted, freshly sharpened or sharpened knife. If I recall correctly, I was being charged with burglary into a car with someone inside, with the car running, and without thought, I forced myself in the car from the back before climbing to the driver's seat uninvited. I didn't get far though. Living in Triangle Park, there is no sunshine. Cops stay on patrol, and for God knows what. It took only for the driver to yell out help, and before I knew it, help came and the cops almost immediately. Again, thankfully, by the grace of God, I was not strapped with any weapons. The only thing I can say got me out of the whole situation at 26 was my mom's prayers from prison and pleading when she got the phone call and me making a promise to the judge like I always do. Stay out of trouble for 1 year. I can count on one hand how many times that's happened, except this time a probation officer was involved. Fast forward to 28 and grown, on my own watch and watch duty, I become hands-on and actively engaged in what began as a third job. My mom, of course, fighting crime and the law inside of prison, was also my mother, a hard worker, and a leader of those around. I say to say it has led her to find a way outside of her confined walls to the newly advanced world of 2020 or the 21st century. She landed straight at the front door of a nonprofit I knew nothing about, posted being a third job. At the time, I was looking for a place to take a shower and unwind from the crazy institution life. I landed as the child of Tammy Eldridge right in Brooklyn at Pure Legacy. The beauty of it, not only was my mom a contributing writer to the mentorship curriculum, she personally knew and did 15 years of prison time with the founder. Because I had a license and a car, Pure Legacy became a third per diem, semi-contracted delivery job before it became a part-time, 2 days a week lead facilitator job. No regrets there, just no backstory history as to what it was before becoming established, before my mom filled in the blanks. Post all the drama there, I almost became a victim to a deal I knew nothing about. Looking back, selling curriculums was not my style. I can't sell anything, even if it sells itself. And that was lesson number one. Lesson number two, nobody knew me better than I knew me, no matter how long or how much they knew my parent or parents. So after drama becomes peace in my mind, and peace becomes reflected around me, I do what I do best, work. And in this case, for the first time, for no money, just reward. And working with young people showed the reward in itself. When I say I went to work, what my mom saw as such a bigger picture than herself in Pure Legacy, she had already done the work. I just had to pick it up, literally, and that I did. I remember vividly, it was a prison-made briefcase made out of cardboard with a string attached, sturdy enough to hold all the content she had planned for Pure Legacy. But what I was holding or withholding that moment is my mom giving it all to me, meaning I, LaQuintae, get the last say. And upon claiming what was rightfully and inherently mine, I made it do what it do and did the work of my mom's work assignment before realizing I just opened the portal to my heart that held all my underlying angers, troubles, hurts, trauma, and so much more, eventually unlocking what is AOCC component of LQ Operations. My vision board from 2021 that I still have hanging in my office today has two very important things I reflect on outside of my name. In the top corner, after my name, is a circle in 3D coming out of the paper, and around the paper it says world. And inside the circle, it is a magazine cutout that says silence your growl. And in the right-hand corner, a handcrafted postcard that says LQ Operations Business, specialized in servicing the nonprofit sector. And a slogan that reads, your business is my business, all written by my moms for me. Off the record, writing and reflecting on AOCC beginning made me emotional within. It made me cry. You can't look back all the time when life has been painful, sometimes even too painful to live. But when God gives me a chance to awaken life, I can now make sure I smile. No matter how far back I look, I now have a point in my life when things started to look up, all the way up until today. Today being 3 years later. If my troubles with the law across a couple states didn't land me right where I needed to be, AOCC would still be a dream. And the nightmares would be me in a prison cell, doing time, when in all reality, this time I'd been a walking gold mine with potential. From being alone, confined in my own mind, to a community, a host of nonprofit organizations supporting me, my story, movement, and business, I now have an apartment to myself, other than with my newest addition, Puma Sprinkles, for emotional support. I couldn't be more happy to be alive. Okay, so that again was something I wrote to put together to share more about the business side of what LQ Operations AOCC is, and the story the students got to read was about my homeless life at one point and how I came about that prior to becoming a full business. Now, to back up the AOCC side of things, I have published my mom's poetry book, self-published as the business. It's under AOCC. And that component, again, is author slash artist of created content. I wrote the foreword for her book, which I'm going to share, but we are also publishing a curriculum that my mom wrote that I will look as an alternative to incarceration for youth. And that is our next project of being put together. So I will read the foreword from the book. The book is called Sane Insanity, This Distorted Reality of 25 Years of Incarceration. So the foreword by LaQuintae Bradley. My mom is fierce, not loud for attention, but fierce in spirit and faith and in survival. Her poetry carries healing, grief, loss, resilience, motherhood, and remorse, not as abstract ideas, but as lived truths. These are not just poems, they are prayers, confessions, and testimonies. She gave her word, her words, as life to our family, to her people, and to a nation that often forgets who pays the deepest cost of its systems. This book matters to me personally. It is a book of life. Through poetry, my mother illustrates incarceration, not only as a physical condition, but as a mental and emotional distortion of reality. That is something I can never fully understand in the flesh, yet I relate to it generationally. Through inheritance, history, and blood memory. Before there was ever a thought of publishing, this book was for me and my younger sister, so she would know where she comes from and what survival looks like in its truest form. After publication, this book belongs to the incarcerated, the formerly incarcerated, and the families broken by incarceration. It tells stories that must be told for all of U.S. history to never forget. There is a fine line between historical slavery and modern slavery, and these poems stand firmly on that line, depending where we look at it, honestly. This work is offered in hope that we understand the importance of families sticking together, loving harder, and remaining whole in spite of systems designed to fracture Black and Brown families. My mother's voice is not just poetry. It is resistance, remembrance, and love. Her book is actually up for sale today. It is on Lulu Bookstore website, and that is the foreword of the book. Before I begin reading the questions, I want to take a moment to give some context. The questions I'm about to share come directly from the students in response to two pieces I wrote and shared with you all. One focused on how incarceration has affected me, while I chose to open up about my experiences with homelessness and institutionalization in parts 1 and 2. And the other, the second look, my perspective. First, thank you to everyone who took the time to read my work. It truly means more than words can express. I received an overwhelming response, about 34 questions in total, and I've been able to thoughtfully answer 25 of them so far. Starting with one question that was not on the list, but Professor Christina asked me, how do you see the Second Chance Act as important and something to support? I want to answer this question briefly to start. I see the second chance as an act of human nature. Naturally, you live and you learn, but you also learn to forgive. When you give someone a second chance in any context, it means you forgive or are forgiven. To me, being a victim only can also make you a villain. Second chances really should be looked at from all angles and evaluated accordingly. I believe some individuals are not the same as the mistake they made 20 plus years ago. 20 years ago, to someone like myself who was only 31, is a lifetime ago. My memory does not even captivate everything that happened, negative or positive, but I know I have forgiven myself and anyone who has done harm to me, not only because it was so long ago, but because it would only bear the weight of negative energy affecting my present and future. So from the standpoint of someone in prison, it is not only affecting the present and future of the individual, but not allowing such positive turnarounds define them today. It is actually affecting the community of people who could benefit from lived experiences of people in prison who have done 20 plus years. The world is forever evolving, and because of the advancements, technology has excluded youth, especially those who are in marginalized community. Lived experiences are the only way you reach children affected by such real experiences. Now, getting into the questions with the names of those who asked them. And I apologize beforehand if I mispronounce your name. So the first three questions comes from Eliana, Ellie, and Nicola. Is there a part of your story you still find difficult to talk about? Yes, of course. Being someone who was not so open about my life and now is like an open book about my mom's incarceration, I most definitely find it difficult to look back and speak about how I got here today. The story I just shared about AOCC and how I got here always feel like a dream, and that is because it's so real to me, I forget I'm the one who actually lived it, making it emotional all the way around. Do you think you were treated differently from those who were aware of your mother's situation? If so, how? Honestly, no. But that's to me. It also felt as if I was taken more seriously than anyone I was around, encouraging me to keep my all serious about everything all the time at work, hence why I always kept the job. And holding leadership positions was my strength over hanging out, and that kept me from being indifferent and feeling even slightly outcasted. What's one seemingly small thing about your mom being incarcerated that ended up being bigger/more impactful than you thought? Looking back, the obvious. My mother has been incarcerated since I was 4. Throughout my mom's incarceration, I looked at her as my mom, addressing her as mom, and even called up to the prison asking for her like she was not in prison. That simple thinking of mine, because I was a child, made me overlook the prison systems as a whole. So when I first started writing and speaking about my mom being incarcerated since I was 4, and the responses I would get started to make me really take a look at the words, my mother has been incarcerated since I was 4. The bigger impact is when I say I am now 31. So those are the first three set of questions. And I guess I'm just going to keep going until we get to the end, and then we'll pretty much go from there. So the next question is from Alexandra. What support services do you think need to be provided to families of those who are incarcerated? This question is a very good question and really important because these are services that need to be widely implemented, especially for families not so open about incarceration and it impacting their family. But not only am I unable to give one answer, I am unable to fully connect to this question because for me, it was a personal inflicted pain and not so much was family involved. Me and my sister alone, I am sure needed 2 different services simply because of the age and development of my brain, knowledge, and understanding of my mom being there one day and the next she was gone versus my sister's understanding at the age of 2. Juliana, what has helped strengthen your relationship with your mother? Interactive visits, including family reunion visits, a business that fully involves her. The Her Life movement started because of her standing for freedom, free phone calls, securest messaging, our children involvement with the prison allowing special events, variety options on getting to and from the prison, and lastly, handwritten letters. I want to add that no one has really asked me this before, so thank you. The next question is from Kate. How did you and your sister have different but also similar experiences growing up? Honestly speaking, even though we are very close in age, life experiences still led us to live two different lives, understand and recall a situation in two completely different perspectives. My therapist told me children can live in a household together and still live and have two separate minds, perspectives, and minds. And that was literally me and my sister. The next question is from Rachel. If you could have a conversation with your younger self, what would you tell her? I personally always love this question because it is a reflective question that always puts a younger me in my mind, about 16 years old. I would tell her at the end of the tunnel, after the pot of gold, found at the end of the rainbow, really lies sunshine. And in that moment, just know you will have your own apartment, your own space, and money. You will live in New York City in a small apartment, big enough for your shoes and your new family member, Puma Sprinkles, a cat who loves you out loud for you. And that is when you can unclench your ass cheeks from whatever is scaring you, worrying you, or dampening your mood. Keep believing and never stop working. Again, I love that question all the time when I'm asked. So that was a pretty good. Alessandra asked, how were you able to change your perspective from anger to having a sense of freedom as you grew up? Me and my mom love to refer to these moments of growth as I grew up yesterday, quotation marks. That means to us every day we grow. From about 26 to 28, I started to grow and shed the adolescent me. To grow from anger took the last straw of being in an institution when I had a very near close call with the law. The freedom I have now came about only 1 year and 1 month ago. The grounding space from anger is the opening of AOCC Alternative to Incarceration curriculum, breaking down to spoon feed the understanding and importance of anger to begin. Followed by anxiety, CPTSD in my case, the importance of therapy service alongside journaling, and overall learning of self. To date, my perspective and outlook on life has made a whole 360 from 20 or even 26-year-old me. The next question is from Ava. It says, what is one thing that helped you cope with your mother being incarcerated? In parentheses, a place, activity, person, etc. I like how you pre-graded this question because back then the answer was work. My way of staying out of trouble and out of the way of other people's anger. Today, my answer is my sister's. As my mother is still incarcerated, putting all my heart and focus into my business is not only a coping mechanism, but a positive outlet. The next question is from Gabriella. What advice would you give to a young person experiencing the same difficulties with poverty and/or incarceration within your family? I answered about incarceration for this one. I put, if it is someone you truly love, respect, and admire outside of the title mom, dad, sister, brother, auntie, then be there. Come to a ground of understanding and forgiveness because you never know what the relationship can amount to. Mine amounted to a best friend, a mother, and a business, none of which I regret. She, my mom, became an inspiration to me, a listening ear, advisor, mentor, and more, all from prison. I learned to not let the walls define her nor get in the way of us building a relationship. The next three questions, I'm going to read the question first, and then I kind of put all of the answer into one paragraph. So these questions are from Brianna, Shanze, and Carmen. How did your beliefs and religion guide/support you through your journey, and were there any moments where you questioned them? What advice would you give to young people who might be experiencing challenges in their life, even if it is not homelessness, but challenges with anything else, who might feel like their life is over or like the world or God has given them the short end of the stick. And Carmen asks, how did you find time and the space for you to work on your faith and mindset while being in the shelter? I chose to merge these three questions together because my faith and belief in God is never a question when it comes to how I got here. When I felt like I got the short end of the stick, I stopped writing, and that was before high school. I graduated high school and top 25 in my class, but I had already stopped journaling or even writing to my mom long before that. God has always accepted my form of expression. When I didn't realize then was that I expressed my knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of faith better through writing before speaking. That small shift led me astray. I now thank God that my prayers were left unanswered at times because my patience within my faith was always very short. I would become angry quickly due to my lack of patience. Because of that, I questioned everything about my religion and beliefs, which led me to disconnect from the only relationship I didn't even realize I had with God, and that was through writing. To young people, I would say, capitalize on your faith, especially when you feel like when you feel like life is over or not worth living. If you stop going to church, go back. I go for the word at my own pace of understanding. Finding time in my busy schedule is hard, but I know that without God, I wouldn't be here. My understanding of patience came through finding myself. Fast forward to my last institutionalized stay within the New York City shelter system. I didn't realize at the time that I had strong writing skills. I was literally discovered. Even while in the shelter, I had an office space that was out of this world. I had a rooftop, a bowling alley, gym, yoga studio with an instructor on Mondays, and 24-hour access. Along with that space, I had a therapist who helped me through and release what was bothering me at the time. My office space, therapist, and school altogether allowed me to maintain and balance my peace enough to not be overwhelmed by what was really happening around me. To this day, my mom refers to that time in my life as me doing whatever LaQuintae wanted to do. Not just because I had one or two jobs, but because when I needed peace, I demanded it and found it. I hope that answered all the questions in a nutshell. In closing, my faith guided me even when I questioned it. My advice is to hold on to that faith in difficult moments, and I found time and space for my growth by intentionally creating peace wherever I was. So the next question is from Sophia. How did your experience as a child influence the way you handle challenges today? My short answer is independence. Being the oldest of four and mentally older than the babysitters led me to always being alone. Not lonely alone, but focused alone. In my mind and at peace, I like to think. I also want to add that those together created a place I never shy too far from today, no matter the circumstances. Holding things in was unhealthy in some ways, but in reality, it helped me take on a lot more than I can handle, and in the end, I handled it better than I could have imagined. Being alone, only engaging in what brings me peace, and knowing myself through it all plays a huge role in who I am today. So the next set of questions is actually all from the professor because she had a bunch of questions herself. And then I just want to say my mom's 30-minute phone call is about to end. So we're going to take a pause and she's going to hang up and call right back. And then we're going to answer all of the questions directly from the professor. So you want to call back, mommy? Okay. It'll take her like literally 1 minute at the most.
Okay, so we'll hold on there. So that was really very revealing, and we appreciate your sharing. I mean, very inspiring for students, I'm sure. Yeah, we can send emojis.
Oh, thank you guys. I definitely see some people here. I know I appreciate everyone
Yeah,
for just being here. Thank you.
So you met, okay, Sarah Watts, I think, is here, right, Anthony? Anthony
I think
Torres
I
is
just
here.
see her name, yes.
She was having trouble. I guess she doesn't know that she has to register to get in. So I sent her a text saying that you have to register to get in. I had the same problem. So she's in transition.
Okay, okay. Did you want to say something, Anthony?
Come
Former
on.
Detective Torres.
Yeah, well,
Was
there was
it?
so much to say. Um, it was, it brought me back to the South Bronx as a child. Um, and everything you talk about, I've experienced. And it was emotional because I was like, yeah, yep, yep, heard that. I know exactly where you're at. And then being on patrol in the same location of where I grew up, I think was a blessing because they had someone that actually understood what was going on, what the children needed, what the community needed. Um, I found a really great counselors in Spofford, but you had to be incarcerated to get those great counselors. So I didn't want to go out and seek people to go and get counseling in Spofford, but I found a great um, community center, and that was my hub for the community. This is where I would get all my information if something was going on in the community, and I also brought them there to get their education, their tutoring, their sports, their therapy. I mean, this was like a one-stop shopping for a really bad area, an underdeveloped area. So they were my resource, and it was right under our noses, and nobody really knew about it. The bosses didn't know. I would tell them all about this community center, and they're like, "Really? They have that there?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is where you need to send those guys. This is where you have to send these people that don't know how to speak English. They have English as a second language. It was incredible. It was incredible. To this day, look at this. To this day, I still talk about them. I call them up every once in a while, see how things are going. But that's needed in areas like that. I'm glad that you're doing the things that you're doing. Sarah Watts, if she ever makes it.
She's here. I see her.
Okay, Sarah Watts, I can't say enough about all the things that she has done, and she's an inspiration to all. A great role model and a great leader when it comes to community. And you know what? I never saw Sarah Watts before. I only spoke to her on the phone. There she is right there. I was like, oh, that's her right there. So please utilize her. Please call me, and we have a lot to say. We have a lot to talk about.
Okay.
I don't want to take up too much time because I can babble.
No,
This is
no worries. Mom is back on the phone. So I will
my
just
mom.
get through this last 2 pages, out of 10 of the questions that the professor asked. And I believe we'll have some time at the end. Okay, so these next questions is from Professor Christina. And I put, still, these are very good questions, many of them family focused. Although I have not legally been adopted, I know most of my family, mainly my immediate family on both sides. However, being so young when my mother was incarcerated, it felt like my mother's side of the family immediately disappeared. With that being said, I will answer all questions to the best of my knowledge and in the interest of each question. These questions will help tie me back to my own lineage, and I thank you for that. The first couple questions are about family strength and legacy. What strengths or values have been passed down through your family that helped you navigate difficult circumstances? I want to take the time to shine a light on the women in my family, on both sides, from my mother to my sisters, grandmothers, and cousins. The strength these women carry, the weight of weights on their shoulders without weighing them down, has trickled down to me. The strength I am talking about has become so generational that it shaped my definition of family. Strong-minded and independent, Never a bad thing, but a forceful thing. No history I have ever read in a history class has compared, unless it was the stories from enslaved people themselves, because those are the hymns that stuck with me. Who in your family has influenced you the most and how? My grandmother, my dad's mom, who is still alive by the grace of God, has influenced me the most. For a short time, my sister and I lived with her, and at that time, I was old enough to hear, listen, and see what she went through as a child, a wife, a mother, and a grandmother for the sixth time. My grandmother, a college graduate and a city/state worker, had already lived 2 lifetimes by the time we came around. Her life had little resemblance to mine, so she could only pass down the stories. Wait, did I exit? Oh, sorry. I thought I exited the meeting. She could only pass down the stories, down her stories, and she did. Through those stories alone, she influenced me. She encouraged my independence and showed me the true definition of demanding peace when needed. I watched my grandmother retire, travel the world, learn to drive and drive again, and be a great-great-grandmother the best way she knows how to be. What are you most proud of when you think about your family story? The fact that despite everything, especially my mom's incarceration, I am somehow being heard to a point of understanding is what I am most proud of. I am raising my voice for more than just myself, and that takes a family effort. Although those events are in the past, they are what makes our history today. I am proud to both have someone and be someone in my family on both sides who can speak with such positivity, especially when it comes to my mom's incarceration and who she is today. I am proud and thankful to still have my elders alive to witness my successes as a writer. What do you wish more people understood about children who have incarcerated parents? Yes, statistics are real, but not all children of incarcerated parents are headed the same direction, no matter the child's chosen life path. And I say that to say people probably predetermined my future before I could even think about what I wanted to be as an adult. And that not only did I prove them wrong, but even though the life that I had or the hands that I was dealt, I still managed to be here today. How did your own experience shape the work you do today? My life inspired all I do today, telling my story on paper, interview style, panel style, and newsletter style now. Using myself is the very definition of lived experiences. The last set of questions are supporting children with incarcerated parents. What are some of the biggest emotional or practical challenges children face? Speaking for myself, it was speaking out loud, not in front of people, just socially. For 2 reasons, holding things in the buildup of anger of having an absent parent, and one never being home because as a truck driver over the road, the time spent home was rare and limited. So that made me just socially feel like everyone had both their parents at home, and I really didn't. So it was the social factor for me. What can schools, communities, or peers do better to support them? My answer is be the first response. Be actively involved in children's lives in order to recognize those who have incarcerated family members. Go beyond being a teacher. Understand what it means to be a mentor, not just leaving that role to a guidance counselor. Some students confide in teachers because they never go to a principal, counselor, or coach like I did. So my teachers was my first line of defense for me, and that was pretty much where I kept it, unless it was a sport. But even then, I never really connected to coaches because most kids automatically do. So the teachers, for me, was my place to go to, and teachers should start there, just being that person. Are there specific programs or approaches you've seen make a real difference? No, but I also wasn't evolved enough or didn't care to be. School and work were my only focus, and that's where I found success, especially since most programs involve some level of socializing. School with one friend was enough for me. unless it was a program that involved children at the very least being able to visit and make those visits, because as a child, we still have to be accompanied by an adult. So thankfully, our children provided more than that. They invited a visit. They had visits that were more interactive and not just sitting across the table from my mom. So outside of that, yes, I couldn't really name any. Lastly, what are some specific things we can start doing as members of the Adelphi community to make a real difference that will help? My answer is advocate, volunteer, start your own non-for-profit organization, share your own story. Just because you haven't experienced incarceration into the depths I have doesn't mean you cannot or do not relate in some way. In every personal story about someone's life, there is a test, a lesson, knowledge, history, and even human feelings that can be captured and translated to any human being, especially children going through hardships. If your goal is to be intentional and genuinely want to help, that is almost always received in ways you cannot imagine. And to further help, you can start by helping expand the introduction of my story and more. You can visit www.lqopaocc.net. And I'm going to say it again. LQOP is short for LQ Operations. AOCC is short for author/artist of created content.net. And I'm not sure if you can just type my name in Google and it comes up, but I'm working on it just in
Okay.
case. And then thank you all for having me, for listening, and for engaging with me about my own lived experiences. I truly appreciate that you have read two of my pieces and took the time to ask thoughtful questions. It's been a privilege to share my answers with you today.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
All
Hi,
right.
Judy. Thank
Now
you.
we will really, Nashawn Jackson is entering. So we have questions from the Zoom participants and Nashawn, and anyone who would like to. Nashawn was the founding partner with me of the Mindfulness Resolution Project, and he now works for the Legal Aid Society. So we're really excited to have him. So I'm going to open it up for questions since we all asked our questions and you answered them so beautifully. So thank you for that. So yeah, who would like to ask a question or make a comment? Uh, really?
Thank you, Anissa. I'm glad you could register and get in.
All right. So should I be a hog and ask another? I think I'm gonna. All right. So I just would love to have an example of one of your grandmother's stories that inspired you, because I'm really into family legacies, and I have so many stories of my own grandmother and things that made me stronger. So just wondering what story you might want to share, if any. It could be any story that inspired you.
My mom's overall life did. Hi, overall life did. She is, of course, maybe three times my age. I'm not even sure, 70, so maybe twice my age. So maybe I added some time. But stories that I remember from her growing up back then, honestly, is those of slavery times. Like they were really those stories that you read in history, but you're like, is this real? And to really try to recall a story of my grandmother, I just know they're in my heart. That's how real they was. It was like her stories are always just so real, and it's like real to the points I can't imagine because it's so far beyond my time, but generationally, it's really not. And that what stuck with me to just be the strong, independent person I am because she has really came up from a lot of things that she's been through. And incarceration is not it. She was not incarcerated, and she still went through like a leap of
Oh,
things that you can only imagine.
and your mom, she accomplished so much. She has three, I think, three master's degrees, one in won a master's in business, and then she started a dance group at
Yes.
in prison.
My mom has done so much. The website definitely is not even all of what she's done because I still need to add some things there. But outside of her degrees, she started the STEP team that is celebrating its 10th year anniversary, actually. So that's pretty awesome and in celebration. She just published a book, a poetry book. So that is pretty amazing. And she's still working. She's finishing school now for another degree. And she's working on publishing something else because we really got to see what it looks like to publish something. So she's very excited about that and being a part of LQ Operations as the COO.
So maybe you could talk about more that she's doing in prison because she's helping younger women also.
I mean, she's on the phone. I can put her on speaker.
Oh, that
Maybe
would
she
be
could say something and just hopefully you guys can hear her. So I know mommy give me a sec. She said, "Oh my God, sorry." Um, you can
cool.
say hi, mommy. There's people here we know. A lot of people.
From Bethel Hills Correctional Facility inside my cell on a tablet. So this is very interesting for me. Hello, everyone. Everything that I'm doing, I think she pretty much said what I'm doing. I'm on my second master's for business and administration from Adams State University through mail correspondence. I have my first master's from New York Theological Seminary. I walked with honors. I was valedictorian from Maryland Manhattan College with my undergrad degree. I'm helping my daughter build a business and hopefully more to add to it. I'm just busy. I'm in my application stage for my PhD, so I'm looking forward to doing my PhD based on my STEP team that she just said I had for 10 years and going on how I changed the culture of the prison environment through my STEP team. So I'm working on that for my PhD application as a applied studies. That's pretty much it. I run a tutoring group also for ESL, which is adult basic education, pre-GED and GED students. I have college students that give up their Friday to help these women pass these TABE tests and pre-GED tests and the GED. And we have a success rate so far. We've gone on 3 years, and we have 2 women that walked as valedictorians with their GED and joined the college program. I named that tutoring group after a young lady who committed suicide here, who was one of my steppers. It's called the Judas Circle. So all I do is just try to give back and heal wounds. That's pretty much what I do. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Wow.
I have a question, if I can.
Yeah.
My question would be, is there any way that people here could support your mother's efforts to gain her release?
And that is literally gonna be, everything is gonna be through the website. So if you would go through the website, there's a page literally titled Tammy Eldridge. And you click on it, and there's things on there like her petition, some video links, an interview. There's a couple things on there that you can tap in and look at. And then the newsletter gives you a little bit more insight on the back scenes of what I'm doing and what we're doing. And then slowly I'll be posting those to the website. But if you want to know as soon as they're happening, you would just sign up for the newsletter, and you can do that through the website.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. That was great. So we were talking about Anthony Torres and I were talking about the support that people need. And LaQuintae, you have a curriculum, and I would like to know more about your curriculum and also get your mother's feedback on the curriculum because I'm really into education, and I know that that can change lives, and give people meaning and purpose. And we're missing that, and that's the missing link to, stopping people from going into prison to me. So what exactly would you do in your curriculum, and what would your mother, she's already doing a lot. What would you do in your curriculum? What do you need?
Okay, that's a very, very good question. I love talking about the curriculum. I don't get to talk about it much because it's in the works. But the important part of it is my mom wrote this curriculum. And like I stated, it was for the idea of another nonprofit. And it just didn't work because it was two different visions. And when I got to look at the bigger picture of how this curriculum started, I did the work of the curriculum. It's arts, music, journaling, literature. It touches on that history. It touches on everything for the alternative to a person instead of incarceration at a young age. Because my mom was young when she went to prison, and if there was something that could help alternate her chances of going to prison, it would be something like what I'm trying to literally put together. And not just for her, me. I have had trouble with the law as well. And it's just like, if you don't tap in to how things are affecting you versus the school system, you still can miss why you're in the predicaments that you're in. And as an alternative to incarceration, it gives you that more insight of lived experiences because we will touch on stories of people that are in prison, literally like my mom who has life. And it's like, you don't really hear the downside to stories of people not